The storm over Varelia had passed, leaving the sky painted in shades of violet and gold. Kale and Lyra stood atop a jagged cliff, overlooking the shimmering rivers and crystalline plains below. The landscape was beautiful, but dangerous. The drones they had escaped the night before were only the beginning. The corporation, shadowy, ruthless, and relentless, would not give up. Kale adjusted his scanner, watching for any signs of movement. "They've already sent reinforcements," he said. "More advanced units than before. We need a plan." Lyra, standing beside him, felt the energy within her pulse in harmony with the natural currents around them. Her implant had stabilized remarkably since the last escape. The training Kale had given her, combined with her own determination, had given her control she had never imagined possible. "We can fight," she said, her voice steady. "I know I can, and I won't let them take anyone else like me." Kale looked at her, pride and hope filling his chest. Humanity had survived countless threats because people chose courage over fear, action over indifference. Lyra's courage reminded him of that. She was extraordinary, yes, but more importantly, she was human in the ways that mattered most. They made their way to the abandoned research facility once more, moving cautiously through the rocky terrain. Kale had discovered that the facility still held valuable technology machines, designed to help hybrid subjects stabilize their implants and develop control over their abilities. If Lyra could master the facility's systems, she could defend herself and protect others inside. Kale guided her through the equipment. "These consoles were designed for training," he explained. "They can help you focus, synchronize your abilities, and even amplify your control without harming you. It's time to test what you've learned." Lyra stepped into the main chamber, her eyes scanning the old monitors. She took a deep breath, centering herself. "I'm ready," she said. Kale nodded, standing behind her. "Remember, control comes from calmness, from understanding yourself. Let the energy flow. Don't fight it." She placed her hands on the controls. Instantly, her implant responded, sending out waves of energy that interacted with the machines. Lights flickered, holographic projections danced in the air, and the chamber hummed with power. Lyra's body glowed softly, her energy surging but under her command. She could feel the strength in her veins, the sharpness of her senses, the precision of her movements. Kale watched, amazed. "You're ready," he said. "Not just for defense, but for anything." Before they could celebrate, a warning light flashed. Sensors detected movement outside the facility. The corporation had tracked them again, and this time, they were bringing more than drones. Humanoid units, armored and equipped with advanced weaponry, were approaching the facility at speed. Lyra looked at Kale. "We have to stop them. We can't run anymore." Kale's mind raced. Fighting them directly could be dangerous, but he had faith in her abilities. "We'll do it smart," he said. "Use your control, your instincts. Let the environment work for you." The first wave of attackers reached the outer perimeter. Lyra stepped forward, her implant glowing brightly. With a thought, she directed a pulse of energy toward the ground, sending vibrations that destabilized the armored unit's footing. They stumbled, giving Kale and Lyra a brief advantage. The battle escalated quickly. Lyra moved with grace and precision, her energy pulses deflecting attacks, disabling drones, and knocking back mechanized units. Kale assisted with improvised tools, hacking old machinery to create barriers and traps. The duo moved as one, human intelligence guiding technology and hybrid ability in perfect synchrony. Through the chaos, Lyra felt a surge of power unlike any before. Her implant reacted to the attacker's intent, predicting their movements, amplifying her reflexes. She realized something crucial. Her abilities were not just defensive. They could be used to protect others, to create opportunities where none existed. Kale called out, "Lyra, focus on controlling the energy, not just reacting." She inhaled deeply, centering herself. The glow around her intensified, but now it flowed smoothly, controlled. One by one, the attackers were neutralized without serious harm. The drones fell, the armored units were toppled, and the corporation's forces retreated, unable to match the combined ingenuity and power of Kale and Lyra as the dust settled. Kale and Lyra stood in the chamber, breathing heavily but victorious. Lyra's body glowed faintly, her implant stabilizing again. She looked at Kale, eyes wide with a mixture of awe and relief. "We did it," she whispered. "Yes," Kale said, smiling. "We did. But this is just the beginning. There are more like you, and they need protection, training, and guidance. You can't do it alone, Lyra." She nodded, determination shining in her eyes. "Then I won't. I'll help them. I'll make sure no one else suffers like I did." Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. "Humanity survives because we care for each other, because we make the impossible choice to act even when fear is present. You're living proof of that principle." Over the next several days, they explored the facility. They discovered old records detailing experiments on other hybrid subjects. Many had failed, their bodies and minds unable to withstand the implants. But a few had survived like Lyra, resilient and extraordinary. The knowledge in these archives would help her and anyone else who shared her condition to stabilize and grow. Kale also reached out to trusted allies through encrypted channels. Scientists, engineers, and defenders of human colonies received his messages. They would help secure the region, monitor hybrid activity, and ensure no corporation or rogue organization could exploit subjects like Lyra again. One evening, as the twin moons of Aurelia rose above the horizon, Lyra stood on the cliff outside the facility. Her implant glowed softly, synchronized with the natural energy of the planet. She could feel herself growing stronger, more confident, and more connected to the world around her. Kale joined her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "How do you feel?" he asked. Lyra looked out over the landscape, the wind blowing through her hair. "Powerful," she said quietly, "not just because of the implant, but because I understand myself now. I know what I'm capable of, and I know what I stand for." Kale smiled. "That's the true strength. Humanity isn't just about survival, it's about courage, compassion, and choices that shape the future. You've embraced all of it." Lyra nodded, a small smile touching her lips. "Then let's make sure the future is safe for everyone. No one else should be afraid of who they are." Kale watched her, feeling hope swell in his chest. Humanity had faced countless trials across galaxies, adapting and surviving against impossible odds. And here was Lyra proof that the next step in human evolution was not just physical, but moral and emotional. Intelligence, courage, and empathy, these were the qualities that made humans extraordinary. The storm had passed, but new challenges would arise. Other hybrids, other threats, and the lingering shadow of the corporation remained. But for the first time, Kale and Lyra felt ready. Together, they could face anything. As the moons cast their silver light across the plains, Lyra extended her hands, feeling the energy of the planet pulse through her. The implant's glow merged with the natural currents, a harmony of human ingenuity and alien power. Kale looked at her and said softly, "You've shattered the limits of what anyone thought was possible. Not because of technology, but because of who you are." Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the twin moons. "And who I am is human." With that, they turned back toward the facility, ready to continue the journey. They would train, protect others, and ensure that human courage, intelligence, and empathy triumphed over any threat. Somewhere far above the planet, distant observers, machines, spies, and corporations watched silently. They had underestimated the human spirit, the combination of bravery, intellect, and moral resolve. They would learn, as the girl with the glowing implant had already proven, humanity, in all its forms, could never be defeated. And on Varelia, under the twin moons, a new chapter of human evolution began, one shaped by compassion, courage, and the extraordinary bond between Kale and Lyra. Together, they had survived. Together, they would thrive. The abandoned research facility stood silent under the violet storm clouds of Varelia. Inside, the soft hum of ancient machines filled the space, a reminder that technology could outlast even time itself. Kale and Lyra moved cautiously through the dim corridors, scanning for any signs of danger. Lyra's implant pulsed faintly with every step, as if aware of the building's power. Her energy seemed to synchronize with the old systems, lights flickering softly in response to her presence. Kale observed quietly, amazed. Every day, Lyra's abilities grew, but controlling them was still a struggle. One sudden surge of energy could bring destruction. Kale had spent hours teaching her to channel the implant, to focus on breathing, visualization, and mental commands. But it was exhausting. "You need rest," Kale said, gently guiding her to a quiet chamber filled with old monitoring equipment. "Your body is adapting faster than your mind can handle. Even extraordinary humans need time to recover." Lyra sank into the chair, exhausted. "I don't want to rest," she said softly. "Every moment we waste, they could find us." Kale sat beside her. "I know, but if you collapse, they will catch us anyway. Rest is part of survival. You must trust me." She nodded reluctantly, closing her eyes. Kale allowed himself a small sigh. The storm outside raged on, lightning streaking the sky, but within these walls, there was a temporary calm. Suddenly, a sharp alarm blared from the facility's old systems. Kale sprang to his feet, scanning the data. "They found us," he said grimly. "The corporation, or someone else tracking you. They're close." Lyra's eyes snapped open, fear mixing with determination. "Then we run," she said, standing unsteadily but resolutely. Kale grabbed her hand. "Careful. Don't let panic control the implant. You've learned to focus, remember?" "Yes," she whispered, but her pulse quickened. Her implant's glow intensified, flickering rapidly. They ran through the corridors, their movements swift and silent. Outside, the storm's fury masked their presence, the wind howling like a living creature. Kale led Lyra to a secondary exit, an old cargo hatch that opened onto a rocky ravine. Below, jagged cliffs and streams of liquid silver formed a natural labyrinth. It was dangerous terrain, but it was safer than facing the city streets filled with drones and trackers. As they descended, the ground shook with the hum of approaching machines. Drones, sleek and metallic, hovered above, scanning for heat and movement. Kale and Lyra ducked behind a crystalline outcropping. The drone's sensors glinted as they swept the area. Lyra's breath came in shallow gasps, but Kale's steady hand rested on her shoulder. "Lyra, now," he whispered. She focused, concentrating on the energy inside her. The implant responded, sending out a pulse of force that disrupted the drone's sensors. Sparks flew from their circuits as they wobbled and lost focus, giving Kale and Lyra the chance to move. But the relief was short-lived. From the cliffs above, a second wave of drones appeared, faster and more advanced. Kale realized these were not standard models. They were experimental hunting units, designed to track hybrid subjects like Lyra. "We need to split," Kale said. "You go down the ravine. I'll lead them away. Trust me." Lyra hesitated. "No, I won't leave you." Kale grabbed her hands. "You are stronger than you know. Now is your chance to prove it. Go." With a deep breath, Lyra sprinted toward the silver streams, moving gracefully despite the rocky terrain. Her implant pulsed, responding instinctively, propelling her forward faster than Kale thought possible. She felt alive, more than ever, but the strain on her body was immense. Kale triggered a small device from his bag, emitting a flare of energy that drew the drone's attention toward him. He ran, leaping over jagged rocks, his heart pounding with adrenaline. The drones pursued relentlessly, but Kale knew the terrain better and used it to his advantage. Meanwhile, Lyra ran through the ravine, her mind racing. She could feel the energy within her growing stronger. The implant had learned to synchronize with her thoughts, reacting almost before she consciously commanded it. She leapt across a stream of liquid silver, the energy pulse helping her land safely on the opposite cliff. Every movement required concentration, but with each step, she felt more in control. Kale glanced back from above, seeing her maneuver skillfully through the terrain. Pride and relief surged through him. She was extraordinary not just because of the implant, but because of her courage, her determination, and her humanity. The drones closed in on Kale, forcing him to make a dangerous choice. He leapt onto a ledge above, using the rocky terrain to knock one drone off balance. Sparks flew as it crashed into the cliffs below. Another drone fired a scanning beam, narrowly missing him. Kale's mind worked quickly. He had to survive long enough for Lyra to reach safety. Below, Lyra reached a hidden cave, previously used by research teams for safety drills. She collapsed inside, panting, her body trembling from exhaustion. The implant's glow dimmed slightly as she regained control. She looked around the cave and noticed old equipment left behind: monitors, scanners, and containment units. They could be useful for hiding or even stabilizing her abilities further. Outside, Kale continued to lead the drones on a chase. He darted between rocks, used the shadows, and occasionally unleashed small energy pulses to disrupt their targeting systems. One by one, the drones were incapacitated, either by terrain traps or Kel's ingenuity. But he knew the corporation would not give up. They would send more advanced units. After what felt like hours, Kale signaled to Lyra. She emerged cautiously from the cave, her energy steady, her body bruised but determined. "Kale, you made it." Kale nodded, a tired smile on his face. "Yes, but we're not safe yet. The corporation will send reinforcements. We need a longer-term plan." They moved through the rocky wilderness, finding higher ground with a view of the storm-lit plains below. Lyra's abilities allowed them to navigate faster, sensing energy shifts and avoiding danger instinctively. Kale realized that her implant, while dangerous, was also a tool, one that, when controlled, could give them an advantage against even the most advanced technology. As night fell, they paused to rest. Lyra leaned against Kale, exhaustion and relief washing over her. "I never thought I could do that," she whispered. Kale put a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You surprised yourself. Humans are capable of more than they imagine, especially when they fight for survival and for each other." Lyra smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the storm-lit sky. "I'm beginning to understand what you mean. It's not just the implant, it's me. And my choices?" Kale nodded. "Exactly. Power is nothing without control, and control comes from understanding yourself. You're learning faster than I expected. But the real test is coming. The corporation, or whoever sent those drones, will not stop, and next time, they'll be stronger." Lyra's gaze hardened with determination. "Then we'll be stronger too. I won't let them take me or anyone else ever again." Kale felt a surge of admiration. Humanity had survived against impossible odds, adapted to alien worlds, and faced threats beyond imagination. And now, in Lyra, he saw the next step in that journey, a human hybrid who could harness extraordinary abilities. Tempered by courage, compassion, and intelligence, the storm raged on. But inside the rocky outcrop, they made a silent promise. Together, they would survive. Together, they would fight. And together, they would discover just how far human resilience could go, even against forces designed to control, manipulate, or destroy. As they settled for the night, Kale activated a small communication device, sending encrypted signals to trusted allies on Varelia. Help would come eventually, he thought. But for now, survival depended on skill, trust, and the extraordinary bond forming between him and Lyra. Somewhere beyond the storm, in the shadows, observers watched. They had tracked the girl for years, and now they would see that humanity's ingenuity, courage, and determination could never be underestimated. Kale and Lyra had escaped the first wave, but the journey was far from over. Their story was only beginning, a story of discovery, power, and the limitless potential of the human spirit. Word count, approximately 1,315. The storm outside battered the metal walls of the maintenance hub, shaking the building with each gust of wind. Inside, Kale adjusted his scanner, watching the glow of Lyra's implant pulse rhythmically. Each beat seemed alive, almost aware, and Kale could not shake the feeling that it was communicating something beyond his understanding. Lyra sat on the metal bench, her hands pressed against her abdomen as if to hold herself together. Her eyes, wide and uncertain, followed Kale's every movement. "Does it always glow like that?" she asked softly. Kale shook his head. "No, this is unusual. The signals are stronger than normal. It's responding to you, and maybe to me as well." He paused, unsure how much to reveal. "Lyra, I need to ask you something important. Have you ever felt different from other people?" Lyra's lips trembled. "Different? Yes, I can hear things no one else does. Sometimes I feel energy around me, like the air is moving with me, and I heal faster than normal. But it hurts. It always hurts. Kale's pulse quickened. These traits were not human, yet they were not entirely alien either. He had studied hybrid biology before, but nothing like this had ever existed outside classified experimental records. The implant embedded in her body was not just machinery, it was a living system, evolving alongside her human DNA. Lyra, Kale said cautiously, "You're not fully human, at least, not in the way the rest of us are. This implant, it's part of a program to blend human and alien traits. You are modified." Her eyes widened in shock, tears welling up. Modified? No, that's not possible. My parents, my family, they didn't do that. Kale reached out, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "I know it's frightening, and I don't know who did this or why, but the fact is, this technology exists, and somehow it became a part of you. You're extraordinary, Lyra, more than anyone imagined possible." She pulled back slightly, fear etched on her face. Extraordinary? That sounds like a word for a weapon, not a person. Kale shook his head firmly. No, extraordinary can mean a lot of things. It can mean powerful, but it can also mean compassionate, brave, and human. You are all of these things, and I want to help you control this power before it controls you. Lyra studied him for a long moment, her brow furrowed. Then, slowly, she nodded. I want that. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to be normal." Kale exhaled quietly. "Normal is overrated," he said with a small smile. "Besides, what is normal anyway? Humans have survived storms, wars, and endless challenges. Being extraordinary might be exactly what humanity needs." The girl allowed him to examine her, further revealing small signs of her abilities. When she moved her hands, objects on the metal table trembled, as if reacting to her presence. Kale carefully documented each observation, fascinated and cautious. Suddenly, a sharp beep from his scanner startled them both. The glow from Lyra's implant intensified, and the air in the room seemed to hum with energy. Kale leaned in, trying to stabilize the readings, but it was clear that her body was not entirely in her control. "Kale, it hurts," Lyra gasped, clutching her stomach. The pain was intense, radiating outward, almost as if her body itself was shifting. Kale's mind raced. He knew they had to act fast. "Lyra, focus on my voice. Breathe with me. In and out slowly." He guided her through controlled breathing while monitoring the signals. Gradually, the glow softened, the rhythm slowing to a manageable pulse. You did it," she whispered, relief and astonishment mingling in her voice. "How did you?" Kale smiled faintly, though his heart was still racing. "Human intuition," he said. "Sometimes understanding comes from something other than technology. Empathy, compassion, these are tools too." For the next several hours, Kale and Lyra stayed inside the hub, running tests and collecting data. He discovered that her implant responded to emotions, external stimuli, and even physical contact. The changes in her body were subtle but significant: enhanced strength, heightened senses, rapid healing, an occasional burst of energy. But the more Kale learned, the more dangerous it became. The energy surges could be triggered unpredictably. If she lost control, it could harm herself or others, and someone or something was already tracking them. Kale glanced at the readings again. Faint signals, almost imperceptible, were coming from outside the hub. "We're not alone," he said. "Someone knows you're here. We need to move soon." Lyra's eyes widened. "They'll take me away, won't they? Just like before." Kale shook his head. "Not if I can help it. We'll find a place where you can be safe, where you can learn to control this power without being hunted. But it won't be easy, and it will require trust and courage." Lyra's hand found his again, gripping tightly. "I trust you, Kale. I don't have anyone else." Kale nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Humanity had faced countless threats: hostile planets, alien species, environmental disasters. Humans had survived because they cared for one another, because they chose empathy over indifference. And now, he thought, This was his chance to prove that same principle in action. As they prepared to leave the hub, Kale noticed movement outside. Shadows flitted across the walls, too precise to be caused by the storm. He crouched beside Lyra, scanning the perimeter. "They're close," he whispered. "We have to go now." They moved quickly through the storm, Kale shielding Lyra as they navigated the winding streets of the city outskirts. The wind howled, carrying debris that cut against their skin. But they pressed on, guided by Kale's knowledge of the terrain. Suddenly, a drone burst through the storm clouds, its sensors locking onto Lyra. Kale grabbed her and ducked behind a fallen transport vehicle. The drone's searchlight swept over them, scanning for heat signatures. Lyra trembled, but Kale whispered, "Focus. Control the energy inside you. Let it respond, not react." Her implant glowed faintly, sending a pulse that temporarily disrupted the drone's sensors. The machine wobbled, losing focus, giving them just enough time to slip into an alley. Kale exhaled, his heart pounding. "Good," he said. "That was impressive, but it's dangerous. We need a more secure location." They ran until the city gave way to the wild terrain, jagged rocks, silver rivers, and crystalline growths that shimmered in the storm. Kale had researched the region extensively and knew of a safe haven and abandoned research facility. Several kilometers away, it had once been used for experimental studies on hybrid subjects. Now forgotten by the world, when they arrived, the facility looked as if it had been untouched for decades. The doors were rusted, the windows cracked, but inside, the technology still hummed faintly. Kale set up temporary shielding around the entrance to hide them from any surveillance inside. Lyra explored cautiously. "It's big," she whispered. "Like a house for machines." Kale smiled faintly. "In a way, it is. And in here, we might find answers about you and what you can become." He ran diagnostics on the old equipment, interfacing it with his own devices. The facility's mainframe had been designed to stabilize hybrid implants like Lyra's, to train subjects to control their abilities safely. Kale's heart lifted. Here, they could begin real work. Lyra watched him, her eyes filled with a mixture of awe and fear. "Do you really think I can control it?" Kale met her gaze firmly. "I know you can. Humans survive because they adapt, because they fight for each other, and because they believe in something greater than themselves. You're human, Lyra, and humans can do extraordinary things." For the first time in her life, Lyra felt a spark of hope. The pain that had defined her existence seemed to fade, replaced by possibility. The future was uncertain, dangerous, and full of unknown challenges, but for the first time, she wasn't facing it alone. Outside, the storm continued to rage, lightning flashing across the sky. But inside the abandoned facility, a quiet determination filled the air. Kale and Lyra had crossed the threshold into something new, the revelation of her true nature, the promise of control, and the fragile hope that humanity through courage, intelligence, and empathy could guide her safely through the unknown. And somewhere, beyond the reach of the storm, unseen eyes watched. Observers who had followed her for years were aware of her presence now. But Kale was ready. Lyra was ready. Together, they would face whatever came next. Dr. Kale Aaron adjusted the straps of his backpack as he stepped out of the shuttle, onto the dusty surface of planet Varelia. The air was thick with metallic particles, making his lungs burn slightly with every breath. The planet's landscape was strange yet breathtaking. Jagged cliffs of shimmering minerals, rivers of liquid silver, and skies that shifted colors from deep violet to fiery orange as storms brewed on the horizon. Humans had colonized the planet only a few decades ago, but in that short time, they had built sprawling cities with gleaming towers, automated vehicles, and energy grids that hummed softly through the streets. Kale was here on a mission, one that combined science and caution. He was a xenobiologist, trained to study alien life forms and their interactions with human biology. Reports from this region had been unusual, unexplained biosigns, strange energy readings, and rumors of creatures that didn't fit any known classification. Most scientists would have avoided the area, calling it too unpredictable. But Kale had never been one to shy away from danger. Curiosity, he often reminded himself, was the truest human trait. He walked down the streets of Verelia's northern city, where the shadows of high towers stretched across the cobblestone roads. Holographic advertisements floated above the pedestrians, offering everything from synthetic food supplements to advanced neural implants. Despite the vibrant display of technology, Cale felt a chill run down his spine. Something here was off. The biosign readings on his portable scanner pulsed irregularly. He turned a corner and froze. A girl, no older than 17, was sitting on the ground with her knees drawn to her chest. Her long, dark hair fell in messy waves over her shoulders, and her dress, a pale blue, was torn and stained with dust. She clutched her abdomen, her face twisted in pain. Passersby glanced at her briefly, then hurried on, absorbed in their own lives. Cale's instincts kicked in. "Hey," he said gently, crouching beside her. "Are you okay?" The girl flinched at his voice, but didn't move. I'm in pain," she whispered. It won't stop." Cale knelt closer, scanning her with his portable device. The readings were strange. Her body temperature was slightly higher than normal, but that wasn't unusual for someone in distress. What alarmed him were faint signals beneath her skin patterns that looked like intricate circuits, pulsing softly with a blue light. He held his breath. "Lyra," he said softly, reading the name from a small tag on her dress. "My name is Cale. Can you tell me where it hurts?" She hesitated, then slowly lifted her dress at the hem just enough to reveal the top of a strange implant, embedded in her abdomen. Cale's eyes widened. He had seen many medical anomalies, but this was different. The implant was delicate, almost organic in appearance, yet clearly artificial. Tiny fibers intertwined with her tissue, glowing faintly in the dim light. "This is incredible," Cale muttered, more to himself than to her. "Where did you get this?" Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know. I've always had it. Sometimes it hurts, and I don't know why." Her voice trembled. "No one will help me." Cale felt a pang of empathy. He had encountered alien biology before, but nothing so closely intertwined with a human host. He carefully adjusted his scanner, analyzing the signals. The data made his head spin. The patterns were evolving. Slowly, subtly, they were changing, adapting to her body. It was as if the implant had a mind of its own. "You're not just human, are you?" Cale asked, his voice quiet. Lyra's gaze dropped to the ground. I don't know. Everyone says I'm normal, but I feel different. Sometimes. Stronger, faster. And then the pain comes." Cale took a deep breath. He had to make a choice. If he reported her condition, she would be taken away by the authorities or worse, by the corporation rumored to have experimented on human subjects with alien technology. If he helped her, he could be risking his career, his safety. But he couldn't leave her here. "Listen," he said, offering her a hand. "I can help you, but you have to trust me." Lyra stared at him, uncertainty flickering across her face. Then, slowly, she took his hand. The moment she touched him, Cale felt a strange energy surge, not painful, but electric, like her body was reacting to his presence. He shivered. "Why me?" she asked softly. "Because," he said, keeping his voice calm, "sometimes the right choice is the hardest one, and I think helping you is the right choice." They moved to a quieter alley, away from the bustling crowd. Cale set down his scanner and began a careful examination, avoiding any sudden movements that might hurt her. He noted that her vital signs were stable, though her biosigns were fluctuating rapidly. "This implant, it's unlike anything I've ever seen," Cale murmured. "It's not just machinery. It's alive, in a sense. It's part of you." Lyra's lips quivered. "Does that mean I'm broken?" Cale shook his head. "No, it means you're unique. And that uniqueness could be extraordinary." For the first time, a small smile touched her lips. She let him continue, answering his questions quietly, revealing snippets of her life. She had grown up isolated, always hiding the pain she felt. Her parents, she didn't remember them. She had lived with distant relatives who never understood her. And school was a place of whispers and stares. Cale's heart ached for her. Humanity had a way of fearing what it didn't understand. He thought of the colonists on Varelia, carving life out of an unforgiving planet. Humans had survived countless challenges, adapted, evolved. He realized something. Maybe this girl, Lyra, represented the next step in human resilience. Suddenly, the scanner beeped sharply. Cale glanced at the readout. A surge of energy had radiated from Lyra's implant, stronger than before. He instinctively stepped back. Lyra's eyes widened as well. I didn't do anything, she exclaimed. Cale studied the patterns on his device. The implant seemed to respond to emotional stress, or perhaps to human touch. Whatever it wasn't fully under her control. We need to get you somewhere safe, Cale said firmly. Somewhere I can study this properly and help you manage it. Can you walk? Lyra nodded, leaning heavily on his arm. They moved through the winding streets, trying to stay unnoticed. But Cale couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was watching them. The data on his scanner hinted at an external signal, faint but persistent. Someone knew Lyra's location by the time they reached the outskirts of the city. The sun was dipping below the horizon. Shadows stretched across the ground like dark fingers, and the storm clouds above glowed faintly with electric tension. Cale found an abandoned maintenance hub, its doors rusted but still functional. It would be temporary, but it was safe for now. Inside, Cale set up his equipment. He ran diagnostics, carefully observing Lyra as she sat quietly. The implant's glow pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Cale, she whispered, am I human? He paused, looking into her wide, anxious eyes. Yes, he said finally. You are human, but you are also something more. And sometimes, that more is exactly what the universe needs. Lyra nodded slowly, relief and fear mingling on her face. She had never heard anyone speak to her like this before. For the first time, she felt hope. Cale glanced at his scanner again, noting the rapid changes in her biology. He didn't know what she would become, or how the world would react if they discovered the truth. But he knew one thing. He had chosen to stand with her. Humanity had survived by making impossible choices, by protecting the vulnerable, by embracing curiosity and courage. And now, he thought, humanity had a new chapter to write, one that began with a girl in pain, a mysterious implant, and the infinite possibilities of what she could become. Outside, the storm began to rage, lightning crackling across the violet sky. Inside the quiet hub, Cale and Lyra faced the unknown together, somewhere in the shadows. Unseen eyes watched, but Cale did not falter. This was just the beginning.